Here on the G-Spot, we don't just examine the crime, we dissect it and trace the fallout. Welcome back to part 2 of the father and daughter murder case. In part 1, we walked through the ashes of a burned home and followed the murders of a father and daughter and an attempted murder of the mother. Today I'll tell you what happened after the fire, what happened to each of the people involved. Because the fire wasn't the end. It was actually the beginning of a long and brutal legal battle that lasted for many years. Stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to tell you what happened to Gita and her mom, what they're doing now, and how they're living their lives. If you like this type of content, please like, subscribe, and comment. I'd love to hear from you. Welcome back to the G-Spot, where we talk about true crime, actual criminal cases from my own case files. My name is Dmitry Gurovich, Mr. G, and this is my spot. I've been a criminal defense lawyer for almost 30 years, and I got stories. So sit back, relax, and welcome to my world. In part 1, I told you about a Muslim boyfriend and a Hindu girlfriend, her family telling her to end the relationship for religious reasons. I told you that Hassan, the boyfriend, was not happy about it at all. He thought that if he could get rid of the family, of Gita's family, she would have nobody to turn to but him. But it turns out he had another motive, and that was revenge. Apparently he told his friends that Gita is going to pay for what she did, and so will her family. Hassan recruited 2 men to help him in this murder. One was Ivan, his high school buddy, who helped plan the whole thing. And the other was a guy by the name of Richard. Richard was an acquaintance, and Hassan paid him $30,000 to commit the murders. Initial reports were that 2 African-American males were recruited by Hassan to do the murder. Well, it actually turned out that it was Hassan himself and Richard that did the murders. Cell tower records placed both Hassan and Richard first at the house and then at the forest where the bodies of the father and sister were found. There was also a witness. Now this person was at a nearby park when he saw Gita's house light up in flames, and he ran over to take a look at what was happening. And this person actually saw both Hassan and Richard taking out Gita's dad and sister, throwing them into the van and taking off. Gita's mom also testified at trial that night she saw Richard and Hassan at her house. Both of them were stabbing her, and before she passed out, Hassan actually had the knife placed across her throat. After a long trial, Hassan was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder, one for Gita's dad and the other for her sister. He was also convicted of attempted murder of Gita's mom. There were also special circumstances involved. These are enhancements. So he had one for double murder and the other for murder during kidnapping. His sentence? Death. Hassan got the death penalty. He's currently waiting to be executed in San Quentin. Crazy part is that California hasn't had any executions in decades. So Hassan sits there in his little cell waiting for his execution, whenever that's going to happen. So what happened to Richard? Well, this guy was not a scorned boyfriend. He was just a hired gun. Hassan paid him $30,000 to teach Gita's family a lesson. This was way more than that. According to testimony, Richard stabbed Gita's dad, and he beat Gita's sister so hard that he actually ended up crushing her skull. He also stabbed Gita's mom multiple times and beat her with a metal object, and then he set her body on fire. But Gita's mom lived, and she testified, and Richard was convicted on all counts. 2 murders, 1 attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. Richard was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. He's currently serving his sentence. This world, this society, will never see his face outside the walls of his prison. No appeal, no second chances. Richard is going to die in prison. Why not the death penalty? For some reason, the prosecution chose life imprisonment as the proper punishment in this situation and did not even ask for the death penalty. So what about my former client, Ivan? Well, he wasn't at the murder scene. He didn't use any knives or weapons. He didn't pour the gasoline. So why was he part of this case? Well, according to the evidence, Ivan helped plan and coordinate everything that happened to the T. Ivan had a total of 3 trials. In the first trial, he got a hung jury, meaning the jury could not make up their mind whether he was guilty or not on the counts charged. In a second trial, he was found guilty of the murders of the dad and the sister, attempted murder of the mom, and conspiracy to commit those murders. However, there's a legal twist. You see, his legal team appealed his conviction in a second trial, and the Court of Appeals agreed with our argument. They argued that the prosecution improperly used Ivan's statements during a proffer against him at trial. Now, let me explain what that means. What's a proffer? So a proffer is when a defendant talks to the prosecution, talks to the cops or detectives involved, with an agreement that they cannot use anything that he says against him. You sign an agreement to that effect. They sign that agreement. But in this particular case, even though apparently Ivan cooperated with law enforcement and explained to them what happened, how it happened, etc., they used that against them, which they were not supposed to. And so the Court of Appeals said the conviction is overturned. So in his third trial, Ivan was finally found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, not the actual murders themselves. Ivan was convicted to 25 to life. He's currently serving his sentence. What is conspiracy? Let's say you and I agree to rob a bank. My job is to find the getaway car. Your job is to go and purchase the ski masks for both of us. At this point, this is still not a conspiracy. It's just talk, right? Conspiracy is when two or more people enter into an agreement to commit a crime, and somebody does something in furtherance of this agreement, of this conspiracy. If you and I just talk about robbing the bank, that's just talk. But if you go and you purchase the ski masks, that's an act in furtherance of the conspiracy, in furtherance of the agreement. That binds both of us to this conspiracy. Me too, even if I didn't know that you had already purchased the ski masks. And so Ivan was convicted of conspiracy to commit the murders. He planned out everything with Hassan, and he took steps in furtherance of this conspiracy by, at the very least, looking for somebody to assist Hassan. So how did I get involved in this case? Well, Ivan's mom hired me to represent him in this matter. And when I got into this case, I looked at this case as a conspiracy-only case. I didn't think that Ivan was actually guilty of the murders themselves and the attempted murder. But I was not able to put my defense plan into action because something very interesting happened. You see, Ivan's bail was very high. I think it was a $2 million bail, or maybe it was a no bail at all order. I can't remember. This was decades ago. Ivan's mom, together with her boyfriend, showed up at my office. They walked in, they sat across the table from me, and they started demanding, not asking, but demanding that I lower the bail for Ivan. So I asked the mom, how much bail can you afford? She said, I can afford a $50,000 bail. I go, listen, this is a double murder case. An attempted murder case, arson, kidnapping. There's no way in hell Ivan will ever get anything close to $50,000 as bail. It's just impossible. You know, these are $1 million bails in these types of cases, or no bail at all, meaning that you can't even post bail for the person. The person has to stay inside until the case is decided. Well, she didn't like that. Neither did her boyfriend. He got up from his chair, leaned over my table, and started banging on my table, stating that we want all of our money back and we want the file right now. I go, listen, you're not going to get the file, and I'm not going to give you all of the money back. I have to, first of all, look at how much work I've done. I have to see what that costs per hour. And if there's anything left over from the money that you paid me, I will return it. Not a problem. Everything's by the hour. But the file, I cannot give you because it needs to be redacted. I have to, by law, redact all the names and addresses and all contact information of any witness involved. Why? Because used to be that defense attorneys could give their clients or families police reports of the case. Problem happened when somebody actually went and killed a witness. And so after that, defense attorneys are not allowed to give out unredacted police reports to their clients or families. And so I explained that to them. I told them I cannot give you the police report. And so the boyfriend started banging on the table more, yelling at me, cursing at me, and then he started threatening me physically. Well, I don't take well to threats. So I told him, look, you're going to leave my office. It's just a matter of how. We can do it the easy way or the hard way. The easy way is you walk out on your own. The hard way is I assist you. and you're not gonna like it. So he looked at me and I looked at him, and he decided it was much safer for him to just walk out on his own, which is what he did. After that, the mom got a different attorney, and I was out of the case. So what about Gita's mom? Well, she spent weeks in a coma, and when she finally came to, she was faced with the reality that her husband and her younger daughter were murdered. Imagine how she felt. It's incomprehensible, honestly. But she testified. She testified against Hassan and Richard. She faced down these monsters, and her testimony was basically a cry of survival. I am still here, and I will see you go to hell. That's what she was basically saying when she testified against them. She lives quietly now, out of the spotlight, by herself, with her memories. And we come to Gita. She was a college student at the time, and when this was happening, she was actually at her college, at the library studying. She never got a chance to say goodbye to her dad, to her sister. When she came home, she basically stepped into hell. Hassan tried to destroy her entire family, to punish Gita for dumping him and trying to possess her. Gita was stronger than anyone expected. She testified, explaining their relationship and how everything went down. Last I heard, Gita went to law school. Now, I don't know if she became a prosecutor or she went to law school just to see if she can make sense of what happened to her family. But at this point, just like her mom, she's out of the spotlight, living her life quietly. This case wasn't just about death. This case was about obsession, about what happens when somebody believes that love means ownership. But here's the truth that no sentence can address. A father and a daughter are dead. A woman nearly killed. Another woman's world turned upside down, half of it gone, literally. 3 men are in prison. 1 on death row, 2 never getting out. But justice, well, justice is not always clean. And sometimes it takes years. And sometimes it gets messy. And sometimes it still feels like it's not enough. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this type of content, please like, subscribe, and comment. I'd love to hear from you. My name is Dmitry Gurovich, Mr. G. This is my spot, and these are my stories.